I quit my job and I'm working for myself and I'm putting all of my money and my time into creating this business. And there's the chance that it won't work. I haven't been able to pay myself, but I've kept everybody on my team.
So how much do you make?
Roughly.
Today, we're here with Kathryn Hubert, the founder and owner of Chez Genèse.
So about 50% of my staff have disabilities and 50% of my staff are non-disabled.
You went to the bank to get a loan. They all said no.
Yeah, it was like, sorry, we don't have anything to give you. So I did a Kickstarter campaign because there were about 250 people who gave money to getting this restaurant started. And all of their names are written up on the wall in our space. I can't afford groceries right now. So like, yes, I'm successful in the sense that there are people lining up at the door because they want to eat here. And I'm going home hungry at night because I'm working so hard and I don't have enough money to buy food for myself. So is that success?
Welcome to So How Much Do You Make?
Thank you.
And to kick things off, how much do you make?
Roughly $50,000 a year.
Okay.
Yeah.
How does that number feel to you? Is it like what you set out to make? Are you happy with how much you make right now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I didn't really set out to make a specific salary for myself. That was about what I made last year. And I think what I'm on track to make this year too. And that's also the most that I've made since I started this business almost 7 years ago.
Yeah.
So that feels like a big jump in my quality of life from year one. I think I made like 13,000. So that difference, it's like what I'm able to do with that in my life is significant. And I also see room to grow for myself and recognize that I could probably be making more than that with my skill set if I worked for someone that wasn't me. So yeah, I'd like to see that grow and I'd like to see my pay grow for my team as well. And I'm grateful that I'm not where I was when I started and what that means for my business and what that means for my life too.
Definitely. So I want to go back. What made you decide to start this restaurant, this theme with this mission?
Yeah, there wasn't one thing. It was a combination of a lot of different life experiences for me. And really the concept of this restaurant was born out of a daydream about, I don't know, 10 or between 10 and 12 years ago, where I was kind of like, if I could have any job in the world, what would it be? And almost immediately thought I would open up a restaurant that gave people a first step into the workforce or gave someone a second chance. And that came out of like restaurants and culinary and hospitality is what I studied in college. It was, I started working in restaurants when I was 18. I have 3 cousins with autism. I've worked with the Autism Society of North Carolina, which is where I live. I have worked in the school system with students with autism. So yeah, this particular, I lived in France for a year. So like this particular restaurant was kind of pulling on a lot of different experiences and passions and interests. There wasn't just one thing that was the catalyst for it.
When was the point where you decided, I want to make sure that 50% of the staff are people with disabilities? Was that always in the beginning of the concept, or did this come along the way?
Yeah, it came along the way. That initial daydream of like, I want to open up a restaurant. I want it to give people a chance. Like that's super vague. that could be a lot of different things.
Right. Yeah.
And that stayed a daydream for maybe a year. And then I started really talking. I was like, I'm really like ruminating on this. I'm thinking about it a lot. And so then I started talking about it with other people and kind of in the talking about it process and verbalizing it, it got more specific to actually, I think I want to work with people with disabilities. And that was more because of my family connections and then some of my work connections at that point of like, that's really where my experience is. And I was seeing more of the barriers that people with disabilities were facing in the school system and what that looked like and how separate kids with disabilities are in the school system. And then my cousins getting older, going to college, graduating, having trouble entering the workforce and not even being given a chance or an application. Like a lot of those things were kind of the catalyst of like, this is closer to my own personal experience and I have some understanding around it. And so then that became, okay, if I want to start a restaurant that has a disability employment model, then what does that look like? And visiting other businesses or organizations that had disability employment models and sitting in their spaces and taking notes and what do I like and what do I not like? And kind of all of that then leading to, okay, this is how I think I want to do it for myself.
Right. So how does that look in practice? How were you able to have this model?
Yes. In practice, the goal was always to have it be an integrated setting. So about 50% of my staff have disabilities and 50% of my staff are non-disabled. And that was an important um, piece of it for me. A lot of the models that I had seen were very much you have a managerial staff that's non-disabled, and then your entire staff are people with disabilities. And there's kind of this weird hierarchy or power. And that's where more of that like integrated model was born for me of wanting to have a pretty equal split, which has looked like 50% of my staff have disabilities and 50% of my staff don't have disabilities. But that was because I'd seen in a lot of other models the tendency to have your management staff be people without disabilities and then your entire staff be people with disabilities, which sets this tone of people with disabilities need the help of people without disabilities and their capabilities are different. And that can create a power dynamic or imbalance or have a tone of pity or charity. Like we're here doing someone with a disability a service by giving them a job instead of seeing it as, no, actually, you're doing me a service because you work for me. Like you're giving me your time, you're giving me your labor, and I need those things in order for my business to survive and to function. And so, yeah, I wanted to start a business and not a nonprofit for all of those reasons. And then I wanted to make sure that we were truly in an environment where both people with and without disabilities were working together and there was opportunity for growth and advancement together. Like I have people on my staff with disabilities who are training people without disabilities. Like I like having all of that dynamic, like how you grow and what your role looks like is going to be based truly on the individual, disability or not, and what your goals are and what your skill set are and how hard you're willing to work and how long you want to be here and all of those kind of factors that you would have in any job.
What were you doing before you started the restaurant?
Directly before I was working for another restaurant company in Greensboro, very much with the intention of I want to start my own. And if I'm going to do that, I need to make sure that I have the management experience because that was something I hadn't gotten before in the restaurant industry. So I worked for another food group and had told the owner when I interviewed, like, I'm wanting to start my own business. This is what I want it to look like. I'm looking for someone who will help give me that experience. Yeah. And in the meantime, I'll do anything for you
Yeah.
to like help gain that experience. And I did that for about 3.5 years. And that really was super instrumental in terms of learning what more of the like ownership and the operational side of having a restaurant looks like.
What were you specifically doing in that job?
Yeah, I started out, the only position they had was in the catering sales department. So I made cold calls, which I hated.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'm going to do it if that helps me get my foot in the door. And so I did that and worked catering and events. And then I became the owner's personal assistant and worked on developing a group of restaurants that she was opening and then ended up becoming the director of operation for all of those business concepts before I left and started working on my own thing.
In that role, were you making more than
I am now? Yes.
Yeah. So how did that feel? Did you know that you would be making less when you were starting this restaurant? And what were some of the decisions that went into that?
Yeah, I did know that I would be making less. I really took that job as a way to get the experience that I wanted. And then also I had been working to save money, knowing that I wanted to start my own thing. And so I used that opportunity as like, I'm going to save, like I'm going to keep living kind of with the same costs and expenses and then save all the extra to go towards my own thing, which was really helpful.
Yeah.
I Yeah, I'm really glad that you asked the question of like, what did I think my pay was going to be when I started? Because I'm realizing like I didn't start something with that in mind. Like it's never been about what I was going to make, at least initially, like in the startup phase. I think I was just really dedicated to, I want to start this. I feel really passionate about working for myself and about creating a business with this specific social impact model. Um, and I knew that that meant I was going to have to be really scrappy and resourceful, not independently wealthy. I didn't have backing by any banks, so there wasn't like this safety net of, it was kind of like my business is going to open and it's going to need to make money right away in order for this to
Right.
work. And I'm just going to pay myself what I can as we're getting up, off the ground.
So what is the story behind the bank? You went to the bank to get a loan. They all said no?
Yeah, I'm a 29-year-old woman who's never had a business before, who's wanting to start a restaurant, which is not a very financially stable business usually anyways. Like a lot of them fail. It's the first restaurant that I was starting. I also have a missional aspect of what I'm doing that I think people had caution around, like, I don't know that that's going to work. And so, yeah, it was like, sorry, we don't have anything to give you. So then it was, yeah, well, if I'm not going to get loans from banks to start something, then how do I actually like raise the capital? Like I don't have $120,000 just lying in my bank account to start something. Like, how do I take what I have and piece together what I need in order to get it started?
And how did you?
Yeah, it came from a lot of different places. I did a Kickstarter campaign. And so that raised some of the funds. And that was actually like doing crowdfunding was, I think, really played an important piece into developing that initial sense of community that we had around the restaurant. Because there were about 250 people who gave money to getting this restaurant started. And all of their names are written up on the wall in our space.
Nice.
And so people come in and they're like, that's my name on the wall. And like there's a different sense of, I really want to see this place succeed because I was part of investing in it from the beginning. I got some personal loans from some friends and family members. I applied for a couple of grants through downtown Greensboro, which is we're located in downtown Greensboro, North Carolina. I put in personal investment, and then I had a couple of family members who also gifted some money. We're just like, we want, my parents, like, we want to see you do this. So yeah, it was kind of all of those things together.
That's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
I feel like that also like ties back into the whole concept of the restaurant community coming together, one purpose.
Yes.
I wanted to go back though. You said $120,000.
Yep.
What brought you to that number? How did you know that that was the number you needed to start the restaurant?
Yeah, that was through like developing the business plan, finding a location, figuring out what the rent is going to be, setting a budget for renovations, for, you're buying all of the tables, the chairs, the dishes, all of, your pots, your pans, everything. There's a lot of equipment needed. The space that I found and signed a lease on had the bones of a kitchen, but didn't have one that was fully built out. So we needed to put in a hood system, and that's $20,000. And, the ovens and the stoves and running the gas line and all of that kind of stuff. So that budget really was developed over a little bit of time in figuring out, like, now that I have the space, I have the concept, I know what I want it to look like. How do we piece together how much it's actually going to cost to open, and did as much of it as I could myself.
Did you have any help during this time, like from other people to help put these plans together?
No, that was me. Yeah, I started working for myself full time in January of 2018, and then the restaurant opened in October. So for those 10 months, I was working like for myself and full time and then some on developing the restaurant and the plans. and then started hiring a team kind of like mid to late summer and started some of the training process. And that got factored into the budget too. Like I'm paying people while I'm training them.
Right.
The business is not open yet. So yeah, a lot of those expenses factored in too.
So during that first year from January to
Mhm.
October, how much were you making?
I don't know, enough to pay my bills, which was the goal at that point. I was doing cooking workshops and like small caterings just out of my home. And that's what was paying my bills so that I wasn't having to tap into my savings that was going into the business.
Right.
So that did, like, I was able to cover my general expenses, but not much more than that. So yeah, if I was lucky, maybe I'd make $1,000 in a month, and that kind of covered my rent and my food and my gas money and things like that.
Yeah.
Which I was fine with. I really was just trying to kind of survive and then not have to dip into the money that I was wanting to set aside for the restaurant.
Right. You must have been working like around the clock, though?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah,
was
I
that
was.
just a super stressful time in your life?
It was stressful. The work part wasn't stressful as much as just the feeling of like, I just did something really big. Like I quit my job and I'm working for myself and I'm putting all of my money and my time into creating this business. And there's the chance that it won't work. And I'd like lay in bed at night and just be like, no, what have I done? Like, is it going to be okay? The work part I loved, and I loved working for myself and getting to create something and really put all the like dreams and time and energy that I'd been holding for so long, like actually get to put it into practice.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lot of like when you're working for yourself, there's no one to tell you what to do. And so it's the waking up every day and being like, what do I need to get done today? How do I get it done? What does that look like? So yeah, I was very tired, but very excited at the same time. So like that adrenaline and emotion carried me through a lot of what those first couple of years were.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know we were talking before we sat down. I also quit my
Yeah.
full-time job
Yeah.
2 years ago. And when you were saying you laid awake at night, that was me. I was like, what have I done?
Yeah.
What am I going to do? What if this doesn't work? So I totally understand that. But then when it starts to work, it almost feels like something's totally clicked and
Yes.
you're so happy you did it. But in those first initial months, I remember just being so scared.
Oh, it's terrifying.
What did you do during that time for like health insurance, benefits, things like that?
Yeah, nothing. I have not had health insurance for like 10 years.
You still don't?
No.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah.
How does that feel?
I mean, it feels like I hope I don't get a really like serious,
Right.
life-threatening illness or injury, because that would, I'm not exactly sure what that would look like for my life. So it does look like I do pay attention to that and like trying to really take care of myself.
Right.
But I know that there are a lot of people who do that and take care of themselves and still get cancer or in an accident. So
Right.
that doesn't make me immune from anything. But I think sometimes it can feel scary, but it also, money has been really tight. And it's like, I can be putting all of this money towards health insurance every month as a just in case something happens, or I can continue to invest it in the things that I'm needing to invest it in on a daily basis. And so that's been like a risk and a choice that I've made. I do like pay myself my own health insurance kind of monthly, where I'm like setting money aside in a savings account so that when I need to go to the doctor, I have something that comes up. I've got a reserve to draw from. So I do factor that in now. I haven't always been able to do that.
Right.
I was poor enough to be on Medicaid for a little while, but not poor enough to get Medicaid that was helpful.
Oh my God.
So I got one free physical a year, and that's what it covered.
Yeah.
And I was like, thanks so much. Like, but for the most part, being able to be a self-pay patient and most of like the medical needs that I have had, it's been more cost effective for me to pay upfront and get the discount that most doctors' offices offer if you're a self-pay
Got
patient.
it.
It's usually 40%
Oh, wow.
off. So that has worked better for where I've been at financially than putting that towards insurance. But
that totally makes sense. I mean, when I first quit my full-time job, I was like, I could do Cobra, but it was hundreds of dollars a month that I just didn't have.
Yeah.
So I just didn't have health insurance for 3 months. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm lucky it was only those 3 months, but during that time I was like, should I like not leave the house?
Yeah.
What should I do during this time?
Yeah.
I like took a flight with my friends and I was like, everyone watch out.
Yeah.
I can't. But no, it totally makes sense when you have like a tight budget.
Yeah.
That just in case, I understand.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a bit about your role as an owner. When I quit to work for myself, I don't have any employees.
Yeah.
I imagine having employees is very stressful and very like, you want to make sure that your employees get everything they need. And I'm assuming that comes with some sacrifice to you.
Yes.
What does it feel like to employ people and know that their rent, their health insurance kind of depends on you as the owner and the restaurant?
Yeah. I feel that pressure pretty intensely.
Yeah.
I like part of my personality and my makeup as a person anyways is to feel a lot of responsibility even when the responsibility isn't mine. So then having something that actually is my responsibility, I take it even more seriously.
Yeah.
So it is like that feeling of like there's 30 people who are depending on me to pay them this week, and I take that very seriously. And that's been I'm still in the process of trying to restructure what that looks like for me, because I very much have approached that through a place of self-sacrifice.
Right.
And that is not healthy, especially not for something to be sustainable and long-term.
Yeah.
And it makes sense that like in a startup phase, there's going to be a different level of sacrifice on my part. And I'm the one who's choosing to do this.
Sure.
So it's kind of like, it is my responsibility. But that I think unintentionally on my part set a tone for what the dynamics look like. And there have been, weeks or months where it's like, I haven't been able to pay myself, but I've kept everybody on my team and I've continued to pay them.
Yeah.
Because that's something that's really important to me. And it's also not fair to me and points back to, well, something about my business then isn't operating the way that it should be. If in order to keep my team on, I'm having to take the hit myself. Like, so restructuring, like how do we make sure that this business is really supportive for me as the owner and my team, especially because my labor is still a really big part of the day-to-day operations in the restaurant. I'm the owner and chef, so I'm still running the kitchen Friday, Saturday, and Sunday because those are our busiest days. So it's like I'm actually saving my restaurant a lot of money by assuming that role myself. But then if I can't afford to pay myself, it's like, well, we're not in a good spot.
Right.
So yeah, trying to like balance that. But also like still a messy process for me and has taught me a lot about how much do I actually value myself? How much value do I place on my own time and contributions? If I'm willing to give that up, but pay someone else for theirs. So
yeah.
Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. And you talked about restructuring. How many times have you restructured the restaurant since starting?
So many times.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. We opened in October of 2018. So we were like 15, 16 months old when the pandemic hit.
Right.
And so then it was like, well, we're just getting our footing and feeling like, okay, we kind of finally know what things look like a little bit. And it was like, never mind, we're actually completely shut down. And then we're modified. And then we're a little bit more modified. And like there were so many different iterations of what our COVID and post-COVID model looked like. And that took about 1.5 years to kind of get back to, okay, now we're operating kind of like we were when we first opened. they'd be like, but we're not a startup anymore. So then how does that look to grow? And so in the past, 6.5 years that the restaurant has been opened, we've gone through probably some major like change or transition at least once a year.
Yeah.
And some of those years, it was multiple times where it looked different in order to just stay open and survive.
Right.
Yeah.
How do you set your salary? How did you set your salary when you first started? How did you get to the 50K now?
Yeah.
And then how does that tie into what you pay your employees?
Yes. So my business is structured as a sole proprietor LLC, which means that I'm not on payroll. I pay myself out of the profits from the business. So obviously the profits go up and down. So my pay, that sounds like roughly 15,000. Because it's like that does vary a little bit and it's not a constant. Like I don't have a set amount that I make every time I pay myself. I do try to stick to like, I pay myself biweekly the same way that I pay my staff. I just pay myself on the opposite week. So like, I pay myself on the non-payroll weeks to try to balance things out a little bit. But I pay myself a percentage of our profits.
Okay.
And that, the way that I structure that, a lot of that comes from a book called Profit First, which I've found to be super helpful. And the overarching concept of that is that when you pay yourself last out of what's left, there's never anything left. Like the way money seems to work is that when you have a pot, you figure out how to spend it. Like there's always something in a business that needs to be paid for. And so if you're waiting to take your pay out of what's left, there's never really anything left. So the premise of that is before you pay your other expenses, you actually take your profit out first. And then you reserve that. And then you need to figure out how to pay your expenses with what you have left instead of the other way around.
And how did you, decide to what you were paying your employees? Like, were you looking at other restaurants? Was that when you were like journaling and sitting in restaurants? Like, how did you come to that in order to understand like what your profits needed to be and things like that?
Yeah. That's changed over the years too. Initially, it was kind of like, okay, this is what we have in the budget to pay people. And then also taking like, what are people asking for on their applications and then trying to raise the bar on that.
Right.
We're a non-tipping model for a restaurant, which is also unusual in the States, at least. It's very common in France. And some of that is because of our disability employment model. And some people are getting funds or services from the government. And so they have a cap on what they can make before they start losing services. And
interesting.
Tipping, you never know what you're going to make. And it varies day to day. So we had just established from the beginning, like everyone gets paid an hourly wage. But then that gets iffy too with like, what's a fair wage versus the living wage? Most of my team is part-time and want to be part-time.
Right.
So I do think that we're fair with our team, and the spirit of the business is always when there's extra, it goes back into the team. Like when we have a win for the business, it's a win for everybody. And we've like regularly give raises, usually once or twice a year. So it's wow. And those aren't always huge, but it's like just like, I see you, you're working hard. This is what your pay now looks like. But yeah, some of that is we've had to learn what to charge for our food, what people are willing to pay, how to compensate the team. So like I have people on my team who sometimes will make more than I do. And yeah, it really varies. But that's something that I feel like I still want to see grow, both for the people that work for me and for myself. But it's hard because the restaurant industry as a whole is usually pretty underpaid. So it's like, I'm trying to change the way we're doing two things: how you pay people in the restaurant industry and how to employ people with disabilities. And some days I feel like we did really well. And other days I'm like, I don't know, we still need to work out the kinks of that. But then it's a matter of making sure that our menu is priced appropriately so that we can pay our team. Yeah.
And on like the menu prices, I know this year especially the cost of food.
And eggs, yeah. It's a
And
bad time
eggs.
to be a
Oh,
brunch
yeah, it's
spot.
bad time to make quiche. I know it's really gone up. So how has that affected things?
Yeah. We look at our prices every like spring, summer, fall, winter when we do our menu changes and then make adjustments that we feel like we need to. And that has looked different each time. This past time, like I looked at our top 5 selling items and then I was like, those are the items that I'm going to increase because I'm going to see the most return from them. We do make our money in eggs. Like we sell more omelets than we sell anything else. And so, yeah, it's been rough to be an egg business with the price of eggs. But I didn't significantly hike that up for our guests. We really encouraged like responsibility and low waste for our team and being resourceful, and then also trying to source where we could get things the most affordable and re-looking at our vendors and things like that.
Yeah.
But there's always some ups and downs with that. And I think that's just part of the business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to ask a few questions about the restaurant.
Yeah.
Going out to eat is my favorite hobby.
Yeah.
So I'm so excited to talk to a restaurant owner and chef.
Yeah.
What was the inspiration behind having a French restaurant?
Yeah. I lived in France for a year in my early 20s in the Burgundy region of France. And like day 3 of being there, completely fell in love with France. And like, that's the only season of my life where I remember like waking up every day and being like, I'm so thankful to be here. Like there was just this immense gratitude for getting to be where I was. And really just like was fascinated by the food, how good the food is, but like how sacred food is in France. And it's like people don't eat in their cars. People aren't eating on the go. It's like if you're going to eat something, you're going to sit down. It's intentional. You are paying attention to what you eat. You're often doing that with other people. And so there's a very relational side of food. When people would have me into their homes, it's like you're there for 4 or 5 hours. And it's like, we're going to start with this. And then we're going to have that. Like there's just this generosity around food. No matter what people have, there's just a generosity and like a lavishness around it. It felt like the ultimate compliment. I was cooking at like a conference retreat center and we'd have groups come in from different parts of Europe. And whenever French groups were there and they would be like, your food is good, but you're American. Like they could not get over it. And I was like, I feel like that was like the ultimate mark of like, I achieved something.
Yeah.
But yeah, just like witnessing more and more firsthand the power that food has to make people feel cared for and to connect people with other people and like the barriers that breaks down. And the conversations that you get to have around the table, like the vulnerability that comes up when you are fed and you feel satisfied and nourished, like you're willing to talk in ways that you wouldn't otherwise talk. And so like I started a restaurant, yes, because that's my industry and that's what I love. And I really want to change the way that our world does something, and seeing a restaurant as a powerful way to do that, because the experiences that people have, the conversations that they're having can be so unique in that setting and in that space. But yeah, Greensboro didn't have French food. So it was something that filled a need. And I wanted it to be very approachable and to feel like you've stepped into a place in Paris or a place in New York City, or like some of these places that really creatively inspire me.
Right.
And give people in my own city that experience or that taste. Yeah.
The way you describe eating together and talking about food, I'm from New Orleans. That's where I grew up.
Yeah.
So
also a great food city.
Yes.
Yeah.
And my favorite thing growing up was going to crawfish boils.
Yeah.
Because it was exactly what you were saying.
Yeah.
It was people around the table, because you have to use your hands. No one's on their phone.
Yeah.
No one's distracted. You're eating this beautiful creation that took hours.
Yes.
And the whole time it was cooking, people were around. Like food is so communal and so sacred. As you said. So I just love the way you describe. And New Orleans, of course, has that French.
Yes. There's a lot of influence.
So I know you wanted to bring that French cuisine, but it sounds like also that French way of looking at food to
Yeah.
Greensboro, to your restaurant.
Yeah, like wanting when you walk in the door to be like, "Oh, this is a place where I slow down, where
Mhm.
we're not rushed. We're not trying to, people come in there. It's like, oh, I'm really trying to like get someplace. And it's kind of, well, you should order a piece of quiche to go then. Like,
Yeah.
this isn't, we're not fast food. We'd make everything from scratch and by hand. Yeah, the intent, like I loved seeing how French people spend so much time making their food, but it makes sense because they also spend a lot of time eating it.
Yeah.
Like if you spend 5 hours making a meal, you don't want to eat it in 15 minutes. Like
Right.
you really want to sit around the table and enjoy it. And so that's the hope that like people come in and it's kind of this respite from the hustle or the craziness or the pressure that you might experience or have experienced prior to coming in or when you leave again, like that while they're eating with us, they get to have this little moment of like, I'm being cared for. I'm here to just enjoy the experience and kind of like let down and
Right.
relax.
Do you feel like you have been able to achieve that with the restaurant?
Yeah, I think
Yeah,
so.
that's
Like,
awesome.
yeah, it's really, we have an open kitchen, which I
Oh,
also love. So,
cool.
like,
Yeah.
that also feels very relational. Like, people are watching us make the food. Um, I'm getting to see people eat it and experience it. It feels more homey, I think, which is what I wanted. Um, but yeah, I get to look out and be like, no one's on their phone out there. Like
Wow.
everyone's sitting and eating and talking or making friends with the people that are next to them. Like
Mhm.
that makes me so excited when it's like you started as a two top here and a two top here. And by the time they sit down to eat, they're like, let's just eat together. We're now four. Like those kind of
Wow.
things. Like it, yeah, that I think makes me feel like, okay, doing, we're doing something that I set out to do, which was people are connecting around the table.
Yeah.
And that, yeah, that makes me really, really happy.
That's awesome. I also want to congratulate you because 6.5 years of owning a
Yeah.
restaurant is like really
Thank you.
amazing. What is the stat that usually restaurants will close within the first year?
Those first like 2 to 3 years are usually a real turning point
Yeah.
for restaurants. Um, so yeah, every year, like we have a birthday party on our birthday because it's like we're still here. Like
Yeah.
we lived another year of life. Yeah.
How does it feel to have like gotten past that 2 or 3 year mark, which I know was right
Yeah.
after COVID and everything?
Yeah. Yeah, it feels a little surreal sometimes. Um, to be like, my restaurant's gonna turn 7 this October. And that has been such a significant chunk of time for
Mhm.
me. Um, but it's also exciting to see like the growth and the maturity in that and be like, yeah, who we are now is like there has been so much growth since where we were at the beginning. And um my goal always is to have something that feels like it's dynamic. It's
Mhm.
constantly growing and changing. Part of that is our business model and having that integrated work team. Like we are always kind of adapting and growing and changing as we learn more
Right.
and whatnot. But then also as the business and getting to see the food, like the creativity that I feel
Mhm.
like I can express now that I was maybe too intimidated to at the beginning, or just like a different confidence level
Right.
and all of that. So yeah, it feels really good in the sense of like I'm really so proud and happy to be here. And there are moments where I can feel really discouraged or defeated and like this is still not where I want to be. And I know how hard it's been just to get to this point. So how much more do I have in me to try to get
Right.
us where I want to go? Yeah.
I think that makes a lot of sense. But I just love hearing this whole story and even just you describing what it looks like to look out into the restaurant and
Yeah.
see people enjoying what you've created. That must be just an incredible feeling.
Yeah. It makes, yeah, that will like kind of the like glow that gives me, I think is
Yeah.
very affirming to this is the work that I want to be doing. Like the value in it for me is getting to see it's like, it's a hard thing with the business where a lot of the reasons that I do it are intangible and hard to quantify. And we're here talking about like money and those are very quantifiable things, but it's like, how much value do we place on someone who felt deeply touched by their food or their experience? I don't know. I don't know what that looks like for them or for their life, but getting to like see it happen in the moment is something that's super affirming to, on some level, it was worth what it cost to get this started in order to see someone connect with it.
Well, I think that's the thing about money and salaries and everything that we're talking about is there's always a trade-off.
Yeah.
You could work somewhere else and potentially make more money, but maybe not have like those feelings you described.
Yeah.
Have you thought about that though during this time? Like, was there a moment where you were like, this restaurant might not work out. I might have to like, I'm not paying myself as much as I want. Like,
yes.
Did you have those moments?
Yeah. I think, there's always anxiety around how are we going to make it work? How's it going to continue to work? Am I going to cover all my bases this week? Things like that. And I think this past year was really a turning point for me in recognizing my business has a groundedness now that it didn't have initially. Like we've really rooted down, and the community of people inside of us as a team and then outside of us as our guests and like the greater community. There's a real depth there. And so recognizing like, I think if my business closes, it's going to be because I decided it's time for it to close and not because it just failed.
Right.
There's nothing wrong if something fails either. Like that's not to put a negative tone on the word failure.
Yeah.
But recognizing like if this business closes, it's going to be because I decide I can't or won't do this anymore versus I don't have the resources or what I need to do it anymore.
Right.
But that has been a real consideration just in terms of burnout and what it looks like to invest so much financially and mentally and emotionally. And kind of be like, can I keep sustaining what I have been giving indefinitely? And the answer is no. So then what does it look like to build in the supports that we need?
Right.
Because I want to keep doing what I'm doing. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this year, this is my like make or break it year where I was like, okay, I'm going to figure out how this really looks and works, or I'm going to say, we're going to turn 10.
Yeah.
And then I'm going to say, that was a really great 10 years.
Yeah.
But I can't just keep doing it forever. And I really believe in myself that I can do it. But I think assigning somewhat of a timeline to that and recognizing I don't have to give of myself forever. I can decide for myself when I've given enough and give myself that space to be a person too.
How has being a restaurant owner, founder, and chef, how has that played in your personal life?
Yeah. I mean, it's been my life, so much of it for a lot of that time. And it's shifted the way that my friendships look. And I think I knew that going into it, like this is going to totally change my life. And what is that? Am I ready to do that? What does it look like?
Yeah.
And I've had people, I'll be like, it totally changed my life. And they're like, yeah, but for the better, right? And I'm like, I mean, yes, I think, but I don't think it's that black and white of like, this was my life before and after, and this is distinctly better. It's like, it's richer, it's deeper, it's fuller. It also has been excruciatingly hard at different points. And I have been in pain and suffered because of it too. So there's not just this like, yeah, it's so great and it's so much better. But I also wouldn't not want to be here and doing what I'm doing. It changes my personal life a lot. I'm always attached to it in some way. It's changed my freedom and my availability. It's changed the relationships that I have or that I'm able to make, how people connect with me. I think I wasn't expecting that going into it, that like in a lot of ways people don't meet me now and try to get to know me for Kathryn. They meet me and they're like, you're the owner of Chez Genèse. How's your restaurant doing? Like there's almost like I don't exist as a person. It's just me as this entity. And I love that people love my work and that they are excited to talk about it. And I really try to seek out friendships and relationships where people are interested in getting to know me as a
Yeah.
person, understanding that my work is a big part of what I do, but it's born out of who I am as a person and not just this thing that's there.
Mhm.
Yeah, it changes dating, like all of those things.
And because you're the owner, you're the brain and the hearts behind it, you're there in person, I'm sure it
Yeah.
can be very, like, hard to distinguish what is my personal life,
Yeah.
what is my
Yeah.
professional life, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it is where there's so much overlap that it's like, yeah, I think I have wrestled with that and recognizing too, like people be like, well, what's work-life balance like? And I'm like, I don't even know that that's really a thing, but it's not so much like there's work and then there's a life outside of work because who I am gets taken both
Yeah.
places. And what I do outside of work informs what I do inside of work and vice versa. So I think for me, it's been more about trying to recognize, like, how do I take care of myself
Mhm.
emotionally and physically and mentally? And what things do I need to be doing inside of my work walls and outside of my work walls to help me feel like a whole person
Right.
and not super segmented or fractured? Like,
Yeah.
I want to be a whole person when I'm in work and when I'm outside of work. And those things may look slightly different, but trying to have like the supports in both places to help me
Yeah.
do that.
So with salaries and just kinda how
Mhm.
we all view
Mhm.
salaries, like, it can feel really tied to, like, have I made it?
Yeah,
Do you feel like you've made it? And what did success look like to you when you were starting this out, and what does it look like to you now?
that's a great question. I don't feel like I've made it, but I don't know that I ever will. I think
Mhm.
that the way that I'm wired, I'm very goal oriented always. And that's something that I wrestle with. Like, it's very easy for me to hit a benchmark and then immediately set the next one. Like, I have to practice pausing and celebrating where I'm
Yeah.
actually at. And so, yeah, I don't think that there's ever going to be a point for me where I'm like, I made it. I reached the space that I want to be because I am a climber. Like, I just
Mhm.
always want to set something else out. Um, and in terms of success, I think that there's still ways that I want to change what that means for me. Um, I think I can acknowledge that I see success in my life and in my work, and that other people see success in it. But sometimes there can be a disconnect between that too. Like when the restaurant first opened and we'd have a line at the door on a weekend morning, and people are like, what does it feel like to be so successful? And I'm like, I can't afford groceries right now. Like,
Yeah.
so like, yes, I'm successful in the sense that there are people lining up at the door because they want to eat here. And I'm going home hungry at night because I'm working so hard and I don't have enough money to buy food for myself. Like, so is that success? Like, I don't know. So I think I'm still trying to figure out what that looks like. And a lot of it for me is intangible and hard to put down on paper. Um, but I think a lot of that comes back to value and how
Mhm.
valued I feel by myself, by my team, how I value other people. And money does play a factor in that. So I think for me, it's less about what I actually make and more about what that represents for me or how it makes me feel. Like
Right.
I feel devalued if I'm paying my team at the expense of myself because then it makes me feel like, well, I'm not appreciated here. What I'm doing, there's not space or compensation for me. But it doesn't actually have to do with how much money I'm making and more of like, this is what that's indicating to me.
Mhm.
Um, so
Yeah.
yeah, that's
Makes
where
sense.
I feel like I haven't totally achieved that yet of like what I'm doing feels appropriately valued in the context that it's in.
Right.
And then there is a connection with money there, but I think it's deeper
Yeah.
than that. And I'm still seeking that out. But that's hard too, to like, it really has made me tap into like, well, how do I value myself?
Right.
And how worthy do I think I am of the things that I want in my life?
Yeah.
And yeah.
How does it feel to talk about money so openly, to talk about how much you make and,
Yeah.
just all the numbers? Like,
Yeah.
how does that feel?
Yeah. There is a level of anxiety around that because it's so easy to make judgments about other people based
Mhm.
on money. And we do culturally tie so much of our success or worth to what we're making or
Yeah.
how we're making it. Um, so I think there's that sense of trepidation of like, are people going to think more or less of me as a person because of that information? And I also want to live a life and run a business that has transparency and that's willing to talk about the things that go on behind the scenes and why those things
Right.
matter. Um, yeah. So it's like, I want to be able to talk about it because I think it's important. And I think there can be sometimes this perception of success where you look at another, like, I do think people look at me and they're like, she's done it. She's made it. She's created this amazing thing. She probably makes X amount of money. Like, she had a dream and she chased it and she's living her dream. And I think that can be tricky. Like, dreams are so multifaceted, and it's not a fairy tale. It's not like, yes, I had a dream and that dream has also cost me and that dream has also given to me. Like, there's both sides of the coin. And so part of that conversation is like hoping that people who have that hope or who have it, that's really more of why I did it. Like, someone who has a hope or a dream to do something, feeling maybe more confident to do that, but then also understanding more of the dimension that's in that. And it's not just about presenting or looking a certain
Right.
way. Yeah, on the other side of it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's great. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
sharing.
Yeah. Thanks for
You've
asking me so many questions.
Yeah. You've really shared so much, and I think given people such a better understanding about your work, running a restaurant in general, but then also just how unique your restaurant is
Yeah.
and your creativity is. So thank you for
Thank
being
you.
so open.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
What are some ways that people can support your restaurant? Obviously going,
Yeah.
but what else can
Yeah.
people do?
Yeah, definitely. If you're in the area, come and see us. We would love that. Um, there are a bunch of different ways that people can connect with us virtually too. And that's both me, I keep hitting the mic, both me and the business. So if you're interested in following the restaurant, Chez Genèse, you can check out our website. We have an Instagram page that we're active on. And then me personally, I have a YouTube channel where I talk a lot more about my process as a business owner and more of the like disability integration piece of what we're doing. And then I have a Substack as well. So kind of video content, written content. And then I do work with other businesses and organizations who are wanting to make their businesses more integrated, adaptive. So I have like a speaking coaching side of what I'm doing. So yeah, the restaurant, you can follow that for what it does. And then if you want to follow me and how my work combines with that, and Kathryn Hubert or Chez Genèse.
Great. Awesome.